Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest in the Championship Managers Ranked series. We do these every international break. They're kind of like our power rankings of the current crop of Championship managers. So just to be clear, what we are doing here is we are looking at all 24 of our current incumbents in Championship dugouts, their past work in the Championship and their current work in the Championship and their credibility as Championship managers. Remember as well, this is a list, so please do get involved in the comments, but to comment on only one person in a list completely removes the context of who is above and who is below that person. So do get your own thoughts. At least give me your top six or your bottom six, but if you can do me your whole list, you get a gold star in the comments. Now, let's start at number 24 with Rhys Carr, the Coventry interim manager. And it's important that we include Rhys Carr because this is a big grenade being thrown into the list. Because essentially, what we've done is we've taken out Mark Robins, who was 6th in the list, and we've put Rhys Carr in at the bottom, which has the effect of shifting everybody up a place when you think about it. So, look, Rhys Carr's not going to be the Coventry manager for long. Probably in a few days' time, we'll know who the new Coventry manager is. We don't know that now, so I've just got to go in and pop him in 24th. And do bear that in mind when someone who's kind of treading water goes up in the list. Well, there is the reason why. In 23rd, I will go with Narcis Pelach. I'm going to stick with him there. 1 win in 7 to begin with, so we didn't get the new manager bounce from Pelach Stoke. He has got 7 points in his last 3. So, in the very short term, he may be moving up. But look, new kid on the block, we will leave him right where he was last month. We will, however, bump Omer Riza up 2 places. I know he's not full-time Cardiff manager, but what we did get from Riza was the fabled new manager bounce that we didn't quite get from Pelach. Although, I do know, a little bit of a bad week last week, wasn't it? So we're dealing with people where we don't have a great deal of information or number of games on them. So you can understand where we are in the list. But I'll pop Riza up 2 places. And I'm going to leave Tim Volter where he was last time, which, given the new one in at the bottom, is kind of like falling 1 place if you think about it. Well resourced at Hull for 1 point per game and no wins in 7. So I'm a bit worried about Tim Volter, other than the XG numbers are very good. So if they can learn to stop leaking goals, then maybe he'll be moving up the list. Will Mr. Ilachali be patient? He's not known for his patience. At number 20, we'll go for John Mousinho. And I get people will probably disagree with me on this one. It's like, you know, we're Pompey in the table there. 23rd in the table. He's new to the league. He's up 2 places. Obviously, the Rhys Carr issue pushing everybody up is something as well. And I think Mousinho's done a very good job of staying very calm in the face of some kind of bad injury stuff and a horrible run of fixtures. We knew they were playing the whole of essentially the top 10 in the first run of games, weren't they? So there's an idea that the corners... Look, it's not an idea that the corner's going to turn. That's not definite. But if it is going to turn, it's probably going to start turning now. So I think Mousinho's laid the groundwork for that. Can he deliver? Does that make sense? Probably not, but I know what I mean. In 19th, we'll go for Rooney. He was there last month. And I mean, who knows? The problem I've got with Rooney at the moment is it's a bit extreme. There's conflicting information. There's really good performances and really bad performances. There's some good stuff at home and really alarming worst away team in the league. I know that's not new for Plymouth. So we're trying to get a hold on what Rooney is about here at Plymouth. But 18th in the table, I'm sure the Plymouth fans would take that right now to end the season and for Rooney to build on next season. So we'll leave him in 19th. And in 18th, I've got Johannes, Hoff Thorup. I've dropped him down a place. I feel a bit bad for doing this. I did actually hold on Norwich in the 1 to 24 predictions, just because they've had a horrible run injury-wise, where real key players, the keeper, the drop-off there is significant. Sargent always, Norwich get far more points when he's in than when he's out, and I think the whole of the midfield was out as well. So I get that in Thorup's defence. He's obviously a new name, and you can see we've gone 21st, 20th, 17th. It's really time for him to shine now. If he's a good manager, he's going to right this, and Norwich are going to head back up towards the playoffs where they were when we did this last. So, yeah, bit ambivalent on Thorup at the moment, and yeah, wish him luck for the next period. In 17th, Liam Manning, you can see I've actually bumped up 3 places. I've flip-flopped with Bristol City and I've flip-flopped with Liam Manning, but we're getting some very positive signs of consistencies. Now, I'm not supposed to be judging managers on what they did in League One, but MK and Oxford as well. I know he wasn't at Oxford for massive amount of time, but they did go on very steady runs for quite long periods of time. And at the moment, Bristol City are like 1 defeat in 10 or something, and moving upwards, 10th in the table. So he's going to be moving upwards in this list if that continues. And obviously we need to, I know it's irrelevant in terms of football, but he's battled through a horrible period personally as well. And I just thought that needed mentioning, not that it's in any way relevant to my numbers here in this list, and far more important, obviously. In 16th, I've got Des Buckingham. I guess we're in list mode here, aren't we? And that because Thorup has gone down 1 and he was above Buckingham last time, and Rhys Carr's coming at the bottom of the list, he kind of moves up a couple by default, really. We're all very impressed with Oxford this season. They are in 16th. They are very, very competitive. I do want to flag up 1 win in 10. I know lots of draws in there, but again, big picture, 16th, Oxford. That'd be tremendous if he can finish there this season. So, yeah, there's a little trend down now, and we want to see real, Des Buckingham lay his cards on the table and, see that out and keep them where they are, or even move them back up in the table going forward. In 15th, I'll go for Luke Williams. It turned a little bit in the last week for him, didn't he? But you've got to say Swansea in 11th is tremendous. They're a little bit of an unknown quantity for me. I could see Swansea putting a big smile on my face and going on a good run of 5 games, or doing the exact opposite. I'm not entirely sure where they're going to go next. So we'll leave Williams. He's kind of gone up a place by default again with the Mark Robins Rhys Carr thing, but he's doing all right, is all I will say at the moment, and starting to build something. I suppose he'll be nearly a year in charge fairly soon. I can't remember when Mike Duff went out last year. Maybe it's a couple of months more, but yeah, Luke Williams 15th. Right, Marti Cifuentes in 14th. People are going to disagree with this because I haven't dropped him down. And the reason I haven't done that is because I dropped him down 4 last time to acknowledge that this is clearly not as good as it was last season. I'm still trying to give him some credit for the brilliant job he did last season, but obviously I'm looking at the league table right there, and QPR are bottom, and this is all unravelling a little bit. And let's be quite frank about this. Cifuentes is probably never going to be dropping down my list, because if it gets any worse, he's probably going to get fired, which would be horrible, really, after how well he did last year. So I'm going to leave him 14th, pretty much on the basis that I've already punished him for the bad start to, where are we? We're 32% into this season now. And yeah, we'll see what's going to come next. It can't really get any worse. So perhaps he can, well, we know 1 or 2 things is going to happen, and I don't need to elucidate any more on what they are. 13th, Paul Warne. I'm just being stubborn about Paul Warne now. I got loads of grief when I had him at 13th in the start of the season. And I get the comments I got, because he'd been relegated and a lot of the success had been in League One, I think like 3 times or whatever. And my arguments were always that it was a really hard job at Rotherham. But anyway, that's all by the by. I've just left him where he is every month now. He's actually 12th in the league. So I'm feeling somewhat vindicated. I can see, possibly Derby being lower than that come what may. But let's just leave Paul Warne still. And for now, he's doing a pretty fine job, I think, at Derby. It's just what are the expectations long term, and can he deliver them? But we'll leave Warne in 13th. He's going to be there forever, right? In 12th, this guy's gone up and up and up, hasn't he? You can see 18th, 14th, 15th, 12th. And it was almost a bit of a case of, look, I don't know at the start of the season. I know he did some games at the end of last season, but I don't read a massive amount into that. We can read a lot into the 32% of this season that's gone. He's done a fantastic job, hasn't he? To have Watford 6th in the league. I know they skew much better at home than away, but that feels like nitpicking when Watford, who a lot of people, I think I had them like 18th or something in the 1 to 24s, thought this was going to be a real hard season, and it's not proven to be a hard season. Are Watford going to finish 6th? I don't think they are, but you've got to give Cleverley credit, and he's proven himself as a working, competent Championship manager. So he's the first name in the top half of our list here. Danny Rohl, I'm kind of holding-ish on Danny Rohl. He's gone down 1. My opinion of him hasn't changed really. I think he's really good. I think he did a great job last season. If you watched my video from a couple of days ago where we looked at the run of fixtures, that Sheffield Wednesday now have a nice run of fixtures coming up. If you believe my working out and, its numbers and its data and its projections, so it may come to pass, it may not. Truth will out for sure. If you believe that, though, then Sheffield Wednesday, if they're about to have a nice run, well, they've probably had a tough run, haven't they, if those two things weigh each other out. So maybe they're going to push up the table. 15th at the moment, but far away from the disaster that was the start of last season. And I've got to acknowledge as well, there's going to be 2 risers we're about to speak about that were behind Danny Rohl that are now above him as well. And I can kind of say the same thing for John Eustace. Look, you're going to find out who they are in a minute. I think you know who they're going to be, the 2 risers that have really had a good last period from the last international break. Eustace, big picture, if Blackburn finished 9th, that is a great job. And we said it last time, he's just a good Championship manager. If you look at where Birmingham were, the fact that Blackburn didn't go down, and now with the extra context of they're actually doing quite well this season, I think he's proven himself as a very safe pair of hands in the Championship. It always sounds damning with faint praise when you say safe pair of hands, but he just is. It was a bad run, but important win. Interested to see how he integrates Campwell as well. If he does a turn with him, that's excellent management, because a lot of people thought that was a busted flush. Eustace in 10th. And the first of our kind of big climbers that really knock Rohl and Eustace down is Regis Le Bris. And it's very important, if you're an emotionally led Sunderland fan here, that you understand what it is we're doing here. We're ranking Championship managers on their credibility. So if we were doing a list of who is the best performing Championship manager this season, then of course Regis Le Bris, he'd be top, wouldn't he? Because he's taken Sunderland to the top of the table, and there's very few people who have exceeded expectations like he has. That's not what we're doing here, though. He's not been in long, and there are plenty of people above him in his list that have a lot more credibility over a lot more seasons, which we're judging as Championship managers. So please understand that. But, you can't really fault coming in and Sunderland being over 2 points per game and top of the table. It's going to be tricky going forward for Sunderland, but we've got to start to put Regis Le Bris right up in the top 10 in this list now, because as much as, some people when I do these lists, they ask, oh, well, how is that relevant? This guy got promoted 5 years ago or whatever. Is it more relevant than what's happening now? I don't know. It's a good debate, isn't it? It's what we're having right now. But yeah, in the now, brilliant from Regis Le Bris. And he moves up. And look, he's gone 21st, 17th, 12th, 9th. So hopefully you will understand, even though I've got 8 people above the current Championship League leader, I'm acknowledging the great work he's done since arriving in our wonderful division. Paul Heckingbottom, there you go. There's a prime example of it. So Paul Heckingbottom has got championship credibility from the past and the very recent past in terms of a second place finish with Sheffield United. We are kind of judging it all on that at the moment because Preston aren't massively winning games and he looks like he might well be in a relegation battle. They're fifth bottom at the moment and it could be a tricky one, and we all need to get our heads around the idea of, judging the job that a manager has to do and getting Sheffield United, a parachute team, into second place as opposed to stabilising Preston, who have been in the middle for forever and a day, and they might do that thing where teams just fade off and slip to a relegation the first time they're in trouble. Well, I don't know. You tell me which job's harder. But yeah, he's probably going to slide down the list as we go. But I've still got the limited information on Heckingbottom at Preston. Admittedly, it's not great so far. But I'm weighing it out with a promotion on the CV as well. He stays 8th. And in 7th, it's a big jump up for Neil Harris, who started the year, you can see up there in 7th, after a brilliant finish last season. Then we dropped him down as we went. But I've got a bit of a sense, excuse my neck, sorry. I've got a bit of a sense that Neil Harris is kind of turning Millwall into what they were when he was there before. This really horrible side to play against, really good on set plays, really hard to score against, really good at home. Been on a heck of a run with all of those 1-0 wins. They're in the playoff conversation. They're in their spiritual Neil Harris home there of 8th. And remember when Gary Rowett was there, Millwall's strength was that they were hard to play against in a different way because they had a really good team shape. They were really, really solid. They were really savvy. Whereas now are they going back to being a bit more aggressive like they were in the press? I mean, it's not for me to say which approach is better in terms of the long run, but I know which approach I think is better for Millwall, and I think the fans want to see a bit of aggression. They're getting that back from Neil Harris now, and you mustn't forget this guy took Millwall up from League One in the past and put them straight into 8th place, and admittedly that fell away. Was in the playoffs with Cardiff. Yes, they were a parachute team then, and here he is again doing a good job. So whether you think he or Millwall is unfashionable, there's a lot of credibility at championship level on Neil Harris's CV. Rob Edwards, 6th. I found this one really difficult to judge because it is clearly unravelling for Rob Edwards at Luton. And I thought there was a chance he might get sacked this international break. The interviews haven't looked good. The results are terrible. Luton are 21st in the league and they're a year one parachute team with giant big expectations. But I don't want to go crazy here because we have literally seen Mark Robins, a guy who was 6th in this list last time, be sacked. So it is possible for a manager that I rate highly, who's got seemingly a load of championship credibility, to just be knocked out of a job. That's the deal. And, if the timing or whatever the circumstances mean that a highly rated manager goes, then out they go. So I've taken Rob Edwards from 2nd to 4th to 5th. I didn't want to go any lower than 6th. And I'm really acknowledging the fantastic, and it's only been one season in the Championship, and really, it was Watford for a cup of tea and then Luton, woof, straight up and out. I suppose we can give a little bit of acknowledgement. I'm not supposed to have a reasonable fight in the Premier League. Didn't disgrace themselves, Luton. Did they? I know the points total wasn't great, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here and just drop him down, because I think genuinely this is very binary. I don't even think Luton will stabilise slightly. I think either he's not going to be in the job very long, this is going to continue to unravel, or I think they've gone a really good run and they'll shoot up the table. I don't think it will just be, they'll wind their way into the middle of the table. So I'm just going to hold fire. I'm acknowledging that it's not going well and it does look like it's unravelling, but I'm not going to go crazy and, be knocking him down right into the middle, and I'm going to pay respect to that playoff win a couple of years ago. The beneficiary, basically, of Mark Robins being fired, in this list, of course, suppose the biggest beneficiary is who's going to get a lovely job at commentary, I think. But anyway, let me restart my point. The beneficiary in this list of Mark Robins going and the unravelling of Rob Edwards is Michael Carrick, because both of those guys moved below him in the list. So has Carrick moved up to 5th on the basis of Middlesbrough being amazing? And, is he comparable with Regis Le Bris this season? No. But Middlesbrough are flirting with it. And there are some lovely hints, some lovely kind of little Easter eggs that something good might be about to happen. Will we see a run like, what year was it? 21-22, where he came in and it just went whoosh with Akpom, Archer, Giles, Ramsey. Is it going to happen now with Latte Lath and McGree and Azaz and Morris and Hackney? I don't know, but I've got him in 5th. Something might be about to happen. And yeah, he's definitely been the beneficiary of others ahead of him in the list either disappearing completely, like Robins, or moving down, like Edwards. And moving down the list is Scott Parker. I've knocked him down one position. I always say the enigma that is Scott Parker. Visually, it's not great for Burnley right now. Since the last international break, I could reel off. Results aren't great. Not great visually or on the eye, so to speak. And the goals have dried up. But always be careful when it comes to Scott Parker, because Burnley are 4th, and would anybody be surprised if they, bimble their way into the playoffs and then win them? I wouldn't be surprised. Go and ask Bournemouth and Fulham fans, but we've got to pay respect to Parker. 2 promotions on the CV, and he's always there. He's always there, so I'm not moving him down far, but it doesn't look great at the moment in terms of Burnley, especially given the expectation of a Year 1 parachute team and a lot of high-quality players still remaining after the exodus in that squad. In 3rd, Carlos Corberan. He was number 1 in September after a great start to the season. I've got others passing Carlos. And it does seem he's just doubled down on being Carlos Corberan with 6 draws in 9 and a load of nil effing nils in there as well. I like Carlos Corberan. I think he punches his weight. But you can't forever and a day be hard to beat and draw lots and have clean sheets. I don't think it wins you promotion in the end, does it? I remember George Graham always used to say, the old Arsenal manager, look him up, kids, 1-0 to the Arsenal. He used to say, well, actually, no, when Arsenal won the title a couple of times under George Graham, they were the top scorers in the league every time as well. So you do need that consistent goal threat on top of it. But do I think Carlos Corberan is an excellent manager? Yeah, of course I do. And West Brom are not a parachute team anymore, and he's had to deal with a lot and a change of ownership and, not a massive spend. And he's always in and around people who've got more than he has. So I'll leave him in 3rd, but stop drawing 0-0, Carlos. In 2nd, Daniel Farke moves up 2 places from 4th. Now, obviously, historically, we have got a 2-time championship title winner and a 90-point scorer last season. And I know a lot of Leeds fans are like, shut up, Ben, come on. Stop talking about the past, it's irrelevant. I know what you mean, but it's not, because I've got to look at championship credibility. What Daniel Farke has done since we last spoke is remained very steady in the washing machine that is Leeds United. I think of like the manager of Leeds. They're kind of like, if you see, like the police officer who's doing a roundabout and doing it without traffic lights. And they have to stay very calm whilst everything around them is pretty crazy. And that's what it's like managing Leeds, isn't it? Because it's a massive fan base. Championship-wise, it's a ginormous fan base, isn't it, in terms of the interest. And he's staying very steady and very calm whilst many around him lose their heads, I have to say, if the comments are anything to go by. And he's lost his first choice midfield as well, which could really mention Norwich. I gave Thorup a pass for losing his midfield. But when Norwich lose their midfield, they lose a load of games and they're rubbish for a month. Whereas when Leeds lose their midfield, they kind of keep on winning. And what do we got here? 1.93 points per game. That's going to come out at 88, nearly 89. You tell me, Leeds fans, Would you shake my hand here? Right now, look, there's pen on my hand. I wrote my notes in felt tip pen. Gross. I'm sorry. Would you shake, how about this hand? I've got pen on my thumb as well on that one. Shocking. Utterly shocking. Would you agree then, without shaking my felt tip coloured hands, on 88 points right now to end the season? I bet you get automatic promotion with that this season. So we'll see with Daniel Farke. I think he's doing all right in the Leeds United washing machine. Which means in first, I'm going to leave Chris Wilder top. I had him top last time, and he's done a really good job of bouncing back. I don't have my timelines completely sorted, but I think the 2 defeats, they might have been the first 2 games back after we last did this. So, big problems. Go to Leeds and lose. Go to Middlesbrough and lose. No, I think he's done 4 straight wins since then. So he's got them bouncing back. It does feel like a nice momentum at Sheffield United at the moment. And I like what he's done. I know I can see both sides of the argument. I saw after the Steel City derby a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans saying, yeah, okay, it's a parachute team. They've got a load of star quality. And that's kind of true, isn't it? You know, it is a parachute team. That's a fact. Did they spend massively this summer? No. But they still are able to use that money to retain some absolute quality players like Vinny Souza and Gus Harmer and Ahmed Hodzic, you know. And, you know, did they spend loads on transfer fees? No, they recruited really well. But they can pay salary to Souter and O'Hare and Kiefer Moore, who, you know, 2 of them got promoted out of this division last season, didn't they? So, is what it is. And I can see the other side of Sheffield United fans saying, oh, okay, he's having to manage a interesting situation with the ownership and lots of players moving, and you see Peck and Arblaster and Sariki in there. So I see both sides of it, but points per game, Sheffield United are the best team in the division, and stop the clocks now, they are in the Premier League. So I'm going to keep Chris Wilder at number 1. There you go. There is Championship Managers ranked for October. Get involved in the comments. One more reminder. What we're trying to do here, power rankings, trying to base it on Championship work. So what they've done in this league in the past, what they've done, what they're doing currently, etc., etc. Obviously, look, we can't ignore people who might have finished 9th in the Premier League, but it's not the be-all, end-all. We can't ignore people who might just have been promoted out of League One or have been promoted out of League One 3 times in their career. We're trying to just be sensible about it. Okay, so it's not a kind of point scoring competition to, you know, prove how illogical I am, because really, is there any logic? It's just my opinion. It's completely subjective, isn't it? So take it for what it is. But remember, if you're going to do that thing where you comment exclusively on the team you support and their manager and nobody else, well, that's not a matter of opinion. That's a matter of fact. You have completely missed the point of what we're doing here, because if you mention one person, all anyone can do is say, well, okay, who's above him and who's below him and why? Therefore, I would encourage you in the best possible way to try and do as much of the list as you can, because anyone in the comments can just ask, well, who's above and who's below. So the whole point is not me ranting and raving at the end, because I get stick for doing that and I understand it. But let's try and get a really good debate here. I'd much rather someone gives me a list and says, oh, I wouldn't have him as high as you had him, Ben. I'd have him down here and I'd have him higher, because that's kind of a good way to debate, isn't it? But we don't get that a lot on YouTube or on Twitter, do we? So anyway, get involved in the comments. And what I will do, I will stick up there the last time we did this, October, so you can kind of cross-reference that if you so desire, and see how consistent I've been with what I've said. But hey, that's the beauty of it. So get involved in the comments. The latest Championship Managers rank. We will do this again in January.